I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome, Johnson Controls. My name is Lori Chilton, and I am a health educator here for Kish Hospital. And I'm going to be talking with you tonight specifically about our Know Your Numbers program and your numbers, your important numbers, your biometric numbers that we've already gotten when we came to see you over at Johnson Controls. We took some measurements. We did your blood pressure. We did your, different measurements when we were there. Your waist, your weight, your height. We got all that good stuff. We're going to talk about that tonight. And then we're also going to spend a little time going through what blood work would look like, or where you want your blood work. Now, I understand that you have not had blood work done, but what I want to do is I want to tell you about a program that we have here at Kish Hospital where you can come and get your blood test done for free. You should have picked one of these flyers up when you came in. This is our Know Your Numbers program here at Kish Hospital. You can call and sign up for this program. We do this program the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, and we start very early in the morning because you have to fast for this blood test. So we can get you in as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. If you start work at 8, we can get you in ahead of time. Or maybe some of you work the night shift?
No.
No?
6 a.m.
Oh, you work some night shift? You're the nighters. Okay.
Of course, we see you every once in a while.
Well, I'm not sure if you have days off or what have you, or if you can work it out with your employer to come, but we do offer this, and this is a way for you to get your blood test done for free. And so I'm going to talk with you, though, a little bit about our Know Your Numbers program and talk about the kinds of numbers that you would get if you participated in this program, just so that you can get an idea of the important numbers that you all need to know. So, congratulations on being here and starting this program. You've got a pretty good sized group, although I think there's more. Aren't there more people that are here right now? Okay, I think we've got like about 50 people from your company that are participating in this, so that's really good. Okay, so know your numbers. Let's get started. There are a few very important numbers that you all need to know to keep yourselves healthy. Okay, first one is your body mass index. The second one is your waist measurement, blood pressure. You need your blood sugar and your cholesterol. The last two are measurements that you would obtain through blood work. So you have to come to a Know Your Numbers to get that blood work done. Okay? But it still is very important for you to know where your numbers need to be. How many of you, I just want to get an idea, how many of you that you know of have had a lipid or cholesterol test done? Have you ever had one done? You have. How many have had it done within the last 3 to 6 months? Okay, so we've got a fair amount of people that have done that, so that's great. And so some of these numbers will make sense to you if you've had that done, and if you can recall what your blood tests were, then we can talk about those numbers. So the first number that I want to talk about is your BMI, which is your body mass index. This is basically the relationship between your height and your weight. The reason we check body mass index is so that we can get an idea of where you're at in terms of your weight and whether or not weight loss is recommended for you. So we use a BMI, I call it the lovely BMI body mass index table. It does not lie, okay? So you should all have one of these in front of you, okay? And this is how we figure body mass index. It's based on your height and your weight. So let me give you an example. Let's say we've got a person who is 5 feet tall, so they're 60 inches. And let's say they weigh 168 pounds. So we have to come all the way over here. That person's BMI is 33. Does that make sense, how I did that? So that's how we figured your BMI. It was based on your height and your weight that you gave us when we came to do the screening. All right? Now, the one thing I want to make sure that you're all aware of that's important is that sometimes, because we use the same chart for both men and women, sometimes it can overestimate body fat, such as in
There you go,
men.
Dennis.
Because men, actually, it can overestimate
That's right. Yep.
lean muscle in men too. You can end up a little on the higher side if you are a very lean machine, meaning you have a lot of muscle mass. You can end up higher on the BMI, and your physician can still consider you to be, healthy. So check with your physician
You are
on
not
this number,
lean
because
machine.
we want you to be where you need to be, okay? As far as this number is concerned. Now, the other thing it can do too is it can underestimate. So the older we get, we lose muscle mass, and it can underestimate
There you
too.
go, that's
So
my problem.
again, that's why it's so important to check with your primary care physician. And you're going to hear this throughout my presentation. It's going to be a common theme. Check with your primary care physician. If you do not have a primary care physician, no problem. We can get you hooked up with a primary care physician. We've got information in the back about all of the primary care physicians that are in our area. So if you are in need of a primary care, make sure you stop by the back table back there, and we'll give you information after class. Because it's important for you to be hooked up with a primary care. Any questions about how we figured your BMI? Okay, so I'm going to go back one slide here to the chart, the BMI chart. Anything below 18.5, nope, not too many people have too much trouble with this one, is considered underweight. Where we want you to be is between 18.5 and 24.9. That's where we'd like for you to be, okay? If you're falling at 25 or above, then weight loss is recommended for you. Okay? You can just stop me as I go. You can ask questions as we go if you're confused or have any questions. The next number is your waist measurement. Now, we measure waist because we're measuring abdominal, or what we call visceral fat. And the reason we do that is because it gives us a clear idea of whether or not you are at risk for heart disease, diabetes, and other health issues. Okay, so that's why we do a quick waist measurement. For females, we want your waist to be under 35 inches. For males, we want you under 40. Now, this number is very closely related to your weight. So as you begin to lose weight, the waist measurement is going to start to come down. Okay. The other thing you need to be aware of is that with the waist measurement and with the BMI, if you have a BMI where you're falling in the overweight category, but you do not have a high waist measurement, okay, and you have less than 2 risk factors, and a risk factor is something that puts you at higher, it's a condition that puts you at risk for developing disease, okay, so if you have a BMI in the overweight category, but you do not have a high waist measurement, and you have less than 2 of these risk factors, it's important for you to maintain the weight that you're at. If you have a BMI that's in the overweight or obese category, that means anything over 25, and you have 2 risk factors, then it's important for you to lose weight now. Okay. So, very important here. Get you an idea of whether or not weight loss is recommended. Okay, the next number is your blood pressure. We checked your blood pressure when we came over to Johnson Controls. And so you all should have a pretty good idea of where your blood pressure is. And it should be on the little white sheet that is located inside your folder. All of this information should be located in your folder. So blood pressure is a measurement of the force of the blood as it goes through the artery walls. The reason we measure blood pressure is because high levels of blood pressure can lead to stroke and heart attack. And so we need to make sure that we're keeping an eye on the blood pressure. We look at 2 different numbers with blood pressure. We look at the systolic blood pressure, and the systolic blood pressure is the pressure of the vessels of the heart while the heart is pumping or beating. The diastolic, or the bottom number, is the pressure of the vessels of the heart in between the beats, when the heart has that millisecond to relax. We don't want it to be overly pressured. So we look at 2 different numbers, and they're both equally as important. If you are unsure as to what your blood pressure is, which you shouldn't be because it should be right in front of you, or you had a high reading and you need to get it checked again, we have blood pressure clinics here at the hospital, and they're listed down here. So we have one here at Kish on Mondays from 10:30 to 12:30, and that would be probably the closest for all of you with your work schedule on the lunch hour. So you can come in for free and have it checked. You don't need an appointment. So here are the categories for blood pressure. We'd like for you to be less than 120 for your systolic and less than 80 for your diastolic. That's the normal. So take a peek at where your blood pressure was at and see where you fall. The next staging is what we call prehypertension. It's really kind of a watchful stage. This is where we want to keep an eye on you and make sure that your pressure doesn't elevate into either stage 1 or stage 2. Anything from 120 to 139 for your systolic and 80 to 89 for your diastolic is going to put you in this prehypertension stage. So if your numbers fell in this category, it's important for you to follow up and have your blood pressure checked in the next 3 months or so. Make sure that your levels aren't staying there. If your blood pressure numbers fell in either stage 1 or stage 2, it's important that you have your blood pressure checked again as soon as possible, within a few weeks, to make sure that your blood pressure is okay. You can either do that by coming to one of the clinics or make an appointment with your primary care physician. If we had anybody here that was in stage 2, where you had systolic of over 160 and a diastolic of over 100, we want you to call your primary care physician and get in to see them as soon as possible.
What happens if we don't have one?
And if you don't have one, we're going to get you hooked up with one.
Right now?
Tonight. You'll walk out of here tonight with a number. How's that? Is that good? Okay. So a couple things you can do to keep your blood pressure in order. Number 1, watching your diet. 2, watching your sodium, your salt intake. You want to make sure that you're not eating more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium. Best if you can eat 1,500. And that's not easy to do because there is sodium in virtually everything that we eat. Yeah. Stress. So you want to reduce stress. You want to make sure you're watching your sodium intake. Increase your physical activity, which you're doing with this program. It'll make a big difference in your blood pressure. And weight loss. Weight loss and physical activity are key. And there's a list of a variety of other things that in an effort to save some time here, I won't go through all those. So we do, I'll tell you, we do have some of these books available, and if you're interested and want to take one home with you, you're more than welcome to take one before you go. The blood glucose is the next one, and this is the blood sugar. And the reason that we measure the blood sugar is to get an idea of whether or not you're at risk for developing a condition called diabetes. The blood glucose measures the amount of sugar that you have free floating in your bloodstream. High levels of sugar in the bloodstream are an indicator that you are developing a condition called diabetes. We have 2 different types of diabetes. We have type 1, which is something that usually occurs because your body isn't making insulin. It's a hereditary type of an issue. It happens fairly young in life. Type 2 diabetes is something that usually happens, it used to be called adult onset diabetes. It happens later in life and usually is attributed to lifestyle. So again, what you're doing in this program, physical activity and reducing your calories and taking weight off is going to help you to prevent diabetes. Let's look at these numbers here. When we look at fasting glucose, what we want is we want your glucose to be under 100. If your glucose is between 100 and 125, you're considered to be in prediabetes. What do we do for people that are in prediabetes? We put them in a program like Live Healthy Teen Challenge. We get them exercising, we get them losing weight, and that usually brings the blood sugar right down. So you're in a good place. This is good that you're here. And if you're greater than 125, then you need to make sure that you seek medical attention. And again, talk with the primary care physician that you are going to get tonight before you and have that evaluated. Okay. Any questions about blood glucose? Some of the symptoms of high blood sugar, I like to kind of outline for you here just to make sure you understand. Frequent urination. Feeling very thirsty is another one. Being tired, very, very tired. Having an unusual appetite, wanting to eat everything but losing weight instead of gaining weight. Blurred vision is another one. So if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, then you may want to have a discussion with your primary care physician. If you're and you know, we all experience some of these things periodically, but if you're experiencing them on a regular and annoying basis, I always say that it's really becoming annoying to you. Make sure you follow up with that. Well, we've even got a little time to quit tobacco here. I'll put in a plug for quit tobacco class. If we have these smokers in the room, we offer a smoking cessation class here at Kish Hospital. So you can call and get into that. Okay, the last number that I want to talk about that we hear a lot about is cholesterol. And cholesterol is a waxy kind of a substance that is found in our body, and we need it for cell growth and for hormone production. So we need some of it. It's just the abundance of it that has gotten us into trouble. So cholesterol comes from two sources. Remember, from your liver, that's where the biggest source comes from. 80% of the cholesterol you have in your body is manufactured in your liver. The other 20% comes from what you put in your mouth. Specifically animal products. So what do we think of when we think of an animal product?
Bacon.
Hamburger.
Yeah. Bacon. What else? What other animal products? Thinking about dairy.
Eggs.
Eggs. What else?
Cheese.
Cheese. What else?
Sour cream.
Sour cream. Ice cream. Ice cream is another big one. Full fat ice cream. In any of those foods, what you're going to find is a common denominator. You're going to find saturated fat. Saturated fat is what really drives cholesterol levels up. So you're going to really want to watch your saturated fat consumption. Keeping it at less than 13 grams a day. And then that will help with your cholesterol. The other thing, saturated fat, less than 13 grams a day, or 7% of your total calories, but 13 grams is easier to remember. I want to do a quick check-in with all of you too on another fat that can be problematic. Do you all know what trans fat is?
Trans fat?
No, I need
Trans fat.
It's not good for you.
It's
Okay.
not
We're
good
back.
for you.
Bring it over.
It's what they used to fry French fries in.
And what trans fat is it is a oil that has been modified by the manufacturing companies. Hydrogen has been injected into the oil, and then it's put into our food. It changes the composition of the oil, and it does so that the product can last longer on the shelf life. It has been studied, and soon it will not be allowed in any of the food that we eat. So no trans fat. It's not healthy for you. It increases your cholesterol. Yeah.
Is it also called other words when you look on the ingredient label?
Partially hydrogenated oil. Or it can even be, I've seen it as fully hydrogenated. So whenever you, and the other thing I want to make sure you're aware of, you might see a label that says, oh, no trans fat on your food label. Don't stop there. Go to your ingredient list and look for partially hydrogenated oil. Because they can put it in your food, they can put up to 1/2 gram in your food, and they don't need to tell you that they've done so. So you got to look at the ingredient list. If you find it in your ingredient list, leave it on the shelf and don't buy it, because it's going to make your cholesterol levels go up. So cholesterol comes in two types: from your liver, from what you eat. Stay away from your saturated fat. Keep your saturated fat consumption less than 13 grams and avoid trans fat. The other thing with cholesterol is that when we measure cholesterol, we're measuring all of these blood fats that are listed here. Triglycerides, low-density lipoprotein, high-density lipoprotein, and very low-density lipoprotein. Triglycerides come from calories that we take in that our body does not utilize. That can come in the form of just eating a lot of excess food. Alcohol, oftentimes we see people that are big drinkers have high triglyceride levels. Low-density lipoprotein, this is the lousy cholesterol. This builds up on the artery walls. This is the bad cholesterol. High-density lipoprotein, this is the good. This mops up the bad. So the higher the HDL, the better. Okay, so keep that in mind. H for healthy, L for lousy. And then the low-density lipoprotein, this number here, this comes from the triglyceride number divided by 5. And then we get this number. This is another lousy cholesterol. So if you look at the classifications here, here's the total cholesterol. That's the total amount of all of these blood fats. We want that less than 200. Do you know, or have those of you that raised your hand, do you remember what your cholesterol was? If you did, just put that in your memory bank. Yeah, we want it less than 200. Triglycerides, less than 150. LDL cholesterol, we want under 100. And HDL cholesterol, we want less than 40.
So how do you get good as opposed to bad?
Okay, the bad cholesterol is driven by saturated fat intake. So the more animal products that you're eating that are higher in saturated fat, the higher your LDL cholesterol will be.
That means
And
stopping.
the good
either
comes from
exercise.
increasing your physical activity and eating a lot of omega-3 rich foods, flaxseed, fish, fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, tuna, and any of those fish that will help with your HDL, as will flaxseed, sprinkling flaxseed on your cereal. Ground, yeah. Don't go out, good point, don't go out and buy flax seeds and sprinkle them on. You want to make sure you get ground flax. Yes, yeah, thank you. So any questions about the cholesterol? Any questions at all about that? Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is the new guidelines that have come out from the American Heart Association to prevent heart disease. These have just come out brand new in November, and we've got this nice little handout. Now the reason I'm telling you about this is because these are the new guidelines that your physicians are going to use when they're talking with you about you and your health and what needs to be done to help you to stay healthy or get you healthy. So the guidelines are going to consist of 4 different things. They're going to be assessing your risk. They're going to be looking at whether or not you have a little extra weight on you. They're going to look at your cholesterol levels, and they're also going to be checking in with you to see what you're doing as far as lifestyle. So let's talk a little bit about each one of these 4 things. So your physician will be using a new calculator that I didn't give you that information because it's for the physicians, but they're going to be using a calculator to figure out at what risk you are for developing heart disease when you go in to see them. They're going to talk with you about all of the different risk factors that you have when you go in there, and those discussions will help decide what your treatment is going to be. So they're going to first talk with you about the risk factors that they can't change. You can't do anything about, which has your age, your gender, race, and hereditary. Specifically hereditary because we want to know if you have family history of heart disease. If you do, it puts you at higher risk for developing heart disease. When I say family history, mom, dad, siblings, brothers and sisters that have heart disease. The other thing that they're going to talk to you about is risk factors that can be changed. So they're going to be asking questions like, are you a smoker? And do you have high cholesterol? Take a look at, they're going to want you to probably have a blood test and look at your cholesterol levels, look at your glucose. All of these things that put you at higher risk. Physical inactivity. And if you hurry up and get in and go see your physician now, you can tell them that you're really physically active because you're participating in this program. They'll be so happy. So, and then you're working on losing the weight. So those are some of the things that your physicians are going to be talking with you about. Then they're going to be looking at your weight. And they're going to look at that BMI table that we talked about earlier to see where your weight is falling. If you have a BMI of over 30, and they're going to want you to be really getting serious about getting that weight off. They are also probably going to talk with you about what they call team-based care, which might include some behavioral counseling, getting into some kind of, a program. So this is kind of an up-and-coming thing. As I had said at the last class, we're not sure how this is going to impact our insurance, but my hunch is that down the road, there's going to be probably some coverage, insurance coverage for folks that are having trouble with this, because obesity is now considered a disease. So that's one of the biggest things that's come out, is that obesity is treated like a disease. Hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Is that what he said?
Can you share with the group? No. Oh, gosh. So the new guideline recommends weight loss for overweight people as well. So if you're falling in that overweight category, you're going to want to talk with your physician about that too. And if you are in that overweight category but not in the obese, so here's the the normal weight category: overweight and then obese. If you're over 30, you're in the obese and you need team-based care. If you're in between in the overweight category, what you need to keep in mind is that they're going to take a look at that and then see if you have any other risk factors. And if you have at least one risk factor, such as elevated blood pressure or high triglycerides, then you're going to qualify for treatment as well. So again, this is just kind of an overview to give you an idea of what your discussions are going to be like in the future with your physician and how he or she is going to be treating you. The recommendations for people that are falling in the higher weight categories is to cut 500 calories a day, which is will give you about a 1 pound a week weight loss, okay, which is a nice safe weight loss. An exercise plan that includes at least 2.5 hours or 150 minutes of physical activity each week, and then some behavioral counseling as well. So these are the current recommendations that your physicians are getting as well. Cholesterol, they're going to take a peek at your cholesterol numbers. They're going to take a look at your risks for heart disease. And the LDL, or the lousy, remember the lousy cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, is no longer the guiding factor for treatment. It used to be we'd always take a look at those LDL cholesterols and they would decide whether or not somebody needed to be on a statin. Now they're going to look at the whole big picture. Any questions about the cholesterol? And then lifestyle. This is the last one. Again, physical activity, which is what you are engaging in as being part of this program. Keep physically active. It's like taking a pill every day. If you're physically active, it's going to help you and reduce your risk for developing disease. And when we say physically active, 150 minutes a week, or the new guidelines say 40 minutes of exercise 3 to 4 days a week. Okay. You want to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. 3 to 4 servings in each category, out of each category. Not 3 to 4 total, but 3 to 4 in each category daily.
Throughout the day.
Throughout the day, not all at once. Yeah. And then your sodium intake, which is going to have a direct effect on your blood pressure.
Get a board?
Because the lower your sodium intake, it helps with your blood pressure control. Sodium intake, the RDA recommends 2,300 milligrams daily, but 1,500 if you have a blood pressure issue. You want to lower it to 1,500. You want to make sure you limit your alcohol consumption because that will have an effect on your triglycerides and also on your blood pressure. Men can have 2 drinks a day and women can have 1. The reason we only get 1 is because we don't metabolize as quickly.
Really reduces stress.
So you can have 1. You can have 1.
And don't reduce until the second or third.
Yeah, exactly. Marcy just said drink it slow. Yeah. So, and then reducing stress, which, the physical activity is going to have a huge impact on your stress level. It really makes a big difference if you're out being physically active every day with that stress level. And if you're having trouble with stress, talk with your physician about it. And, maybe some behavioral counseling would help with that too. So, the last thing I want to mention before I close here, because we're getting close to running out of time, is I want to make sure that you are aware of a website that you can go to that I think is excellent. It's the Life Simple 7, and it is on the American Heart Association website. I've given you the link. It's in your PowerPoint presentation notes. You can go on and you can take an online assessment, and they will give you a nice modification plan. It's like a 4-page plan based on the information that you enter. But when you go in and take the assessment, just know that you're going to need your numbers. You're going to need those cholesterol numbers. You're going to need your blood pressure. You have all your biometrics. You've got your blood pressure. You've got your waist measurement. You need those, your height and your weight. But you're going to need the blood work to be able to do this. So either come to a Know Your Numbers program, or when you can, get your blood tested at your physician's office. Okay? So any questions about any of this? I know there's a lot of it.
Maybe you could talk to our boss and see if they was safe for us to come down here on Tuesday or Thursday to take that little blood thing.
We've been trying, haven't we? We've been trying. So maybe, yeah, maybe you all go and say, hey, we really want to do this Know Your Numbers. How can we make this work?
They only have one set of numbers.
Production numbers, huh? So,
For what, the blood?
any other questions about cholesterol, heart disease, anything that we talked
It's
about?
only on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Take a vacation today.
Okay, Courtney, do you have anything that you want to talk about?
Maybe you can cover for me, Joanne.
Oh, yeah, I think, yeah, the flyers for the primary care physician, I think I mentioned they're on the back table. So you can pick them up there on the back table. If you know someone who does not have access to insurance and needs to see a physician, we have information back there on the table for our Center for Family Health that's located in Malta, and they can get care without having health insurance.
When do we get our shirts?
When do they get their shirts?
We'll either get them next Monday, the 17th, or the following, the 24th. We have them ordered, it's just a matter of when the printer gets them back to us.
Hang with it,
We
down.
have 2 rapid fires. We'll give away 2 water bottles
Want a scale?
tonight, so.
No, I wrote it down. No, I bought a scale today, cheap for $10. Thought it was wrong.
Dennis?
Guess what?
Is it?
Dennis. Let's stop your bitching.
And Kim Baldwin.
How you guys match?
That's pretty snazzy.
All right, so you guys are all set then, if you don't have any more questions. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we will see you at your group workout.
Martha, would you bring your little book? What? Steam it.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me grab it for you.